I'm late to the party, late to the train on this one for sure. Saw this actually a hot minute ago, but catching up on reviews now, and this is one from this year that I definitely wanted to, share some thoughts about real quick.
À part ma vengeance, je n'avais aucune perspective.
J'aurais tout fait pour remonter le temps et prendre un autre chemin.
Si l'amour est brutal avec vous, soyez brutal avec lui. Tu as des regrets?
Un océan de regrets.
And today we have She is Conann. I guess you could say Conan, possibly, but I think with the two N's it is Conann. She is Conann is a film that I only got to see because it was in my local art house cinema, and this is a weird one. Technically, it hit other countries and released in late 2023, but we didn't get it here in the States and on any type of theatrical screen until 2024. So in my mind, by my rules, and because I says so, I consider it a 2024 release. She is Conann is by the French writer-director Bertrand Mandico. Admittedly, I can't for the life of me find a pronunciation of his name. Bertrand Mandico? I don't know. Bertrand Mandico? It just sounds so American. Mr. Mandico. I'll just leave it at that. Most notably, either 2017's The Wild Boys or 2021's After Blue. This isn't his first rodeo, but it is his latest and, in my opinion, greatest that he's put out. So here's the thing, I've never cared too much about the story of Conan the Barbarian. I know that it exists in various forms. There's older films, including one very famous one by by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he's out there just being like Daggy and swinging a sword and whatnot, and I love him. So I just never watched it. I looked up a quick summary of that version of the movie, and I guess the core premise of Conan is just your family's killed at a young age, and then you grow up and train to be this brutal warrior to eventually travel and I guess take revenge or stake your claim for power and for something like that. But this is similar but also very different to that original mythos of Conan. The trailer sums it up. Similar starting of just living in a barbaric world, this little girl and her mother, I guess, and the mother's killed and she's taken into this gang of barbarians of sorts, and then as she then gets a taste for killing and revenge and murder, it basically follows her, but kind of speed running her various progressions of age and the different versions of herself. So pretty much almost all these different lives basically, but it's the same character, but we speed run. Instead of living out those periods of life, she just kills the younger version of herself, and that current version will then take over with kind of that knowledge and history tucked away here. So it technically still happened, but for our sake, it's literally she's speedrunning life. Overall, I loved this movie. So much of all the boxes checked of what I look for and what I love to see and would want in a movie. So first and foremost, this film, and I believe I'm still correct in saying this, I can go through the back catalog, I don't know, Hundreds of Beavers was visually very creative and intriguing, but I think for the sake of this review, this was the most visually intriguing and creative film I've seen so far this year. It is frankly, a masterful blend of practical effects and cinematography, videography, camera work, and if there is CGI, barely. Anything that can be practical in this film or a prop of some type is. Instead of doing CG, it's instead these taking footage and altering it and maybe having that in the background to showcase other parts of the world, or just tricks of the camera or video, or just the splicing in of different effects in video and transposing one on top of the other. It is so creatively well done and visually striking, even though most of this film is in black and white with scenes or splashes of color. It is just it's visually it's art. definitely in one of its higher forms. I love the story, personally. It is a foreign film in that it is all, like, French. I don't know why I brought that up just now, but all that aside, I love the story. Like, in this particular rendition of Conann or Conan or what have you, I liked her, like, hero or anti-hero's journey. Every age, she was like a different, like, visual aesthetic, and she was almost like a different character. Like, at her core, she was still Conann, but, like, going through these different chapters and evolutions of her life, she becomes different people as she grows older, and it was really fascinating to watch that and basically get this full, like, the dichotomy of this character spread over, like, her entire life. Really enjoyed the pacing of the movie, but there's also a con to that I'll address shortly regarding the third act. But overall, the way that the movie is paced, having these time skips via character age increasements, it's not a word, holy shit, but having that be the primary driver to follow these different lives of the same character, I think was a really clever and smart way of doing it. Plus, I just like the concept of, like, this gender bend retelling of it. It wasn't like they would just approach this concept and were like, oh, we should gender bend Conan for the sake of it. It helps you explore the character, but instead through a different lens, like this more feminine take on the character, but also all the little inner minutia that would be involved in that, and still paying respects to the legend and the story that exists of Conan the Barbarian, but different take, different, like, type of different person, different types of people, all women, and again, varied, but still Conan at heart. The only complaint that I really had about She is Conan is I thought that the pacing of the film loses a tiny bit of steam in its third act. I think that the pacing for the entire film, it's great. It's literally one of, like, the main positives of the film, but admittedly, things slow down in the third act to cue up the final act and the finale and what happens. And in contrast, the rest of the film has moments where things slow down for a little bit, but it just kind of each age is getting its respective time and payout and whatnot. And for this, I don't know, I feel like one or two ages, but one age in particular probably got the most screen time, and I think it did kind of affect the pacing, but not to a massively detrimental way, just to a way that prevents me from giving this a completely stellar perfect score. But overall, I could not recommend this movie enough. I will warn you, it is quite weird, but also, like, for the female gaze, if that makes any sense, like the gays or the bis out there are probably gonna really like this one for a number of reasons, at least the feminine, of the female variety. End of the day, yeah, She is Conan. I doubt you'll be able to catch it in theaters, unfortunately, but I mean, if you somehow catch it in an art house cinema, definitely see it on the biggest screen possible. But otherwise, 100% worth renting, buying, visiting this one. Just be prepared. You gotta be okay with a lot of weird shit happening. There's a lot of metaphors and analogies and symbolism. There's a lot of things that are happening in this film that artistically need to be taken in a certain context. They translate to, character feelings or moods or story elements or plot points, but there's a lot of work you gotta be done up here. It's one of, if not the most creative and visual film I've seen this year. Highly recommend it. I would easily give She is Conann I give it a low 5 out of 5. It is just, it's up there. It's pretty much a perfect film to me. It just kind of has that slight pacing issue in the third act, which I have to, not that I want to hold it against the film, but I gotta be fair here, and quality of the film, nearly perfect. Personal enjoyment, nearly perfect. This film, low 5 out of 5. Hard recommend. I would love to revisit this director's prior filmography. It's got the same artistic, dystopian, dark vibe to it, and I would love to see whatever this gentleman would make next, but definitely loved it. It's such a visual treat for the eyes. Just like I said, you got to be okay with some depravity, sexual content, a lot of violence, and a very interesting scene toward the end. Granted, many interesting scenes, but I'm okay with the weird and wild. It's like nothing compared to some of the crazy stuff that I've seen in cinema in my life in general. So, I can take it. I'm sure a lot of you can as well. But regardless, recommend, watch it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you guys and gals for watching me talk about this. Hopefully I expose more of you to it. Hopefully more of you will watch it. But the meantime, stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.